Lando, Oscar, and Max are going to become the new Hamverbot.
Hell yeah.
Like where Max has a car that should not be competing with the dominant car, yet it somehow still is, a la what he was doing against the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. Well, I guess what would that be? Norverpia. Norverpia.
Sounds like a country that I was unaware existed.
You never heard of Norverpia?
I hail from the great land of Norverpia, and I am here to read off of Katie's vibe scroll. A message from the Queen, the Canadian Queen herself.
Dun, 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 dun.
Where despite having a lot of timber, we cannot produce paper. Well, parchment.
I live right beside a pulp and paper mill.
Katie, good side hustle.
No, I mean, my town
Your
does.
side hustle is paper mill?
Oh.
Hi, I'm Katie, and my job is paper mill.
My job is beach and paper mill.
For fun, she likes to vacation in Dutch.
Big fan of Dutch. And I love attending the Canterbury Ducky. Those are some things to know about me.
And speaking of getting the party started.
For the victory lap, though. They ain't never seen nothing like this before. Lit the room when I came through the front door. Ask me if I should overcome. What for? Train in the trees, please pardon my sycamore. Touch burning sands, cross lands, and stormy shore seasons in the year, yeah. Switch gears, with keeping haters in the rear. At the blood, sweat, and tears, and my goal so near. I see my victory so clear. I see my victory so clear. And today, we break through. 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 And today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into episode 66 of the only podcast in the world that covers our two loves exclusively, that being Formula One and football. Football American, to be specific. It's the Gridiron Podcast, where we are equal parts grid and equal parts iron. As always, I'm Sean Barie, and joining me along this magical mystery ride into the forays of American football and Formula One is the bald behemoth holding down the fort in the land, NFL.com talent writer Nick Shook. Get a flex in there. And he's repping the Mid-American Conference because Maction is magical, baby. He's got the Mac cutoff on. Nick, where'd you get the Mac shirt?
I had a buddy who used to work for the Mac who went on to work at Tulane University. And this is a fresh off the gym. I just walked in the door, baby. Let's go. I'm gross.
And we're not going to ask her to flex because I don't want to, embarrass Nick at all.
Of course.
Holding down the fort up in Kimberley, BC, it's our Canadian queen, Katie Caldwell. Guys, it's the Mario Lemieux episode of the Gridiron Podcast. We made it to 66. There's no one else. There is no one else I'm going to call this episode after other than Mario Lemieux. How we doing, guys?
Fantastic. I'm soaring off of the residuals of pre-workout. So we're here. It's Tuesday. We're ready to podcast.
Nick is buzzing, like he might actually be floating in his chair right now, strictly just off pre-workout.
I didn't rep enough to get rid of all of it before I had to race back here. So it is what it is.
Speaking of races, we had one this week. The very first Formula One race of the 2025 calendar, the season debut. So we're going to get into our reaction from the Australian Grand Prix. We'll go into our predictions for the Chinese Grand Prix, and some hilarity will happen in between, as usually happens. Not much to talk about on the NFL docket this week, unless I'm mistaken, NFL.com talent writer.
Cooper Kupp signed with the Seahawks, which is a win for Katie. Maybe.
It is. I think it is a win. There's also Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. That's a little thing that
Massive
happened.
extension. Sean, come on now, just because. And Cam
little
Hayward.
things.
Sean is tired of waiting for Aaron Rodgers. So I think we do have a little bit to talk about real quick.
Aren't we all?
But we'll do that. We'll do that. We'll save that at the end because the more important thing is the F1 race. The season freaking started. We watched a race at like midnight Eastern. I watched it at a bar. I may or may not have been slightly inebriated.
That's the best way to watch an F1 race sometimes. I love these midnight races, these late night races, because, I mean, honestly, I'm just kind of like on my couch, poured myself a nice cocktail, and it's like, okay, this is great. Meanwhile, if you do that at 9 a.m., 8 in the morning, you're an alcoholic.
Don't let them judge you for when you like to drink.
Well, and especially me. I'm 2 hours behind you. So if it's 8 for you, it's 6 for me. But I don't know. F1 races low-key kind of feel like when you're in an airport bar, and then just the concept of time doesn't really exist when it comes to judgment.
Not matter.
Exactly. Calories.
Well, it's like, Katie, you texted us this week. You're like, it's St. Patrick's Day, so I feel like I must have a beer, right? That was yesterday.
Yes.
You might as well just have a little Irish coffee. It's in your blood.
I mean, I am part Irish, so I agree.
Aren't we all?
I'm with you.
Aren't we all?
No, I don't think everyone is on the planet.
I am. I'm a mutt, but I am too.
My name is Sean Robert. I'm most definitely Irish. Everyone on this podcast is a little Irish.
Look at that. Wow.
But
Happy
that was
belated
yesterday.
St. Patrick's Day, guys.
Happy belated St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, we'll get into the NFL stuff at the end of the show. Let's talk about the Formula One season debut, the Australian Grand Prix. It did not disappoint. Not at all. If you watched our episode, if you listened to our episode last week, which, by the way, quick shout out, if you're trying to get in touch with us, you can via email at the Gridiron Podcast 3. That is the Gridiron Podcast 3. Damn those other two at gmail.com. And you can also hit us up on Instagram at gridironpod. That's email at thegridironpodcast3 at gmail.com and at gridironpod on Instagram. Hit us up on there. Shameless plug. If you listened to the podcast last week, you know that we deeply were worried about just how many Wookiees were going to make it to the end of the race. And Katie said 5 of the 6 Wookiees would crash. 4 of them did. So, I mean, hey, 1 off, Katie, isn't bad.
Price is Right rules, I won, I think.
Closest without going over.
I didn't want to win that race, though. I didn't want to be right on that. That was really hard to watch. Especially Isaac. That was one where that broke me a little inside, and I'm already a pretty broken person to begin with, so that didn't help.
Quick recap of the race. Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, the McLaren boys, starting P1 and P2. Max Verstappen, the 4-time asterisk reigning world champion.
Can we move on from that already?
Gotta get
we
that in
never
there,
will,
Nick.
Sean. I mean, Nick.
It was like 4... Well, first off, my God. How could I ever be mistaken for a man with such a great hairline?
Down the 4.
I mean, look at that hairline. I couldn't dream of that type of hair, nor having that voice. But also, now I forgot my train of thought entirely.
I was recapping the race. It was a wet race, which is why the Wookiees were in trouble from the start. Isaac Hadjar, rookie at, are we calling them Racing Bulls? V-Carb? What are we calling them?
Racing Bulls.
Racing Bulls. A rookie at V-Carb crashes on the formation lap. Why are you guys laughing at Isaac? This is not the time to be laughing.
We're laughing at you, Sean.
Make me feel a lot better if you said you were laughing with me, but okay, whatever.
Oh, we're going to call them Racing Bulls?
Again.
Okay, V-Carb.
Exactly.
Thanks.
Exactly.
That was great.
Whatever they're
Good
called, their
delivery.
rookie, Isaac Hadjar, spun and crashed on the formation lap on the wet track. You felt so bad for him. You felt absolutely gutted for him. This was something, something you work for your entire life, and you don't even make it to lap 1 because you crashed out on the formation lap. He wasn't the only one, though. You also had rookie Gabriel Bortoleto crashing out. You had rookie Fernando Alonso crashing out, which according to, I think it was Kimi Antonelli, he is a rookie, so interesting. You had Jack Doohan, the Australian guy for Alpine. He crashed out as well, and I'm missing one more. Liam Lawson, Carlos, yes, crashed out into Williams. Liam Lawson crashed out. Not technically a rookie because he had 11 Grand Prix races in him last year, so a lot of spin-outs, a lot of crashes.
But why? But why, Sean? Why?
But why? It was wet out, man. It was freaking wet.
And then less wet, and then a bit more dry, and then more wet. It was quite the race. I love a mixed conditions race.
It was the perfect race for just, all heck breaking loose. And I loved it. I did feel for Isaac Hadjar, though. I felt for Jack Doohan. Mm-hmm. But that moment where Lewis Hamilton's father, Anthony Hamilton, found Isaac Hadjar while he was walking back to the pits. I mean, the world needs more Anthony Hamiltons. They
Not
really
to be
do.
confused with R&B star Anthony Hamilton. Just make that clear.
Could be one and the same. I don't know.
More of whom. I mean, who's to say?
Maybe Lewis Hamilton's dad can carry a tune. I don't know, Nick.
Maybe. I know I can carry a mediocre one at best. Anyway.
At the end of the day, it was Lando Norris, though, hanging on to A pole to checkered flag win. Max Verstappen finishing hot on his heels in P2. Oscar Piastri had a little bit of a slip-up. We'll talk about that later. But what a day for Mercedes, too, because you had George Russell coming home P3, an unlikely podium at best, and then Kimi Antonelli, who didn't make it out of Q1 in qualifying and winds up P4 on his debut. That was one Wookie that had a great race.
A great race.
And for that, he deserves a sound that I can't make. There it is, Sean.
He deserves 5.
There it is. There it is.
Out of how many?
5. You can only get 5 Wookiee noises. 5 out of 5 won the Wookiee noises. Also in P5, Alex Albon. Williams, stand up. Be celebrated.
Yeah.
And then in P6, I guess we also need to stand up and celebrate Lance Stroll for... I mean, this was...
Leave this to
Hell
Katie.
Yeah, we do.
This was one of those races where you get rewarded just for finishing. Like, to finish first you must finish. And, I mean, he finished 6th, but, like...
Joke to be made there, too.
Aston Martin's going to struggle for points this year. And I mean, he brought him home a nice haul there in P6. You also had P7. Was that where Nico Hülkenberg. P7. Sauber. A donkey of a car. And they just outscored themselves from last year on the first race of the season.
Well, and that's how I felt with, like, George Russell on the podium. I'm like, he was in this race? Like, he was so not noticeable to me the entire race. Then all of a sudden everything went down and it was like, oh, I guess George is on the podium.
Oh, blimey, I'm on the podium again. You had Charles Leclerc in P8, bad day for Ferrari. Oscar Piastri finishes P9, and then Lewis Hamilton bringing up the rear in P10. So yes, if you're doing the math at home, Williams and Sauber outscored Ferrari.
Not a great start for the whole Lewis Hamilton title bid with the prancing horses.
Au contraire, mon frere. It was the perfect start. Lewis Hamilton got the full Ferrari experience. Race 1, week 1. Let's talk about that first, because there were some contentious radio messages between Lewis and the pit wall.
Sean, you can press K1. You can press.
You can press K1.
K1 is available.
K1's available.
Leave
press
me to
K1.
It.
It was a back and forth with the pit wall. I don't know what K1 does, or, it's just one of the buttons on the Ferrari steering wheel. But they kept telling Lewis to push K1, and he's like, understood, leave me to it. And about the 3rd or 4th time, he's like, I'll do it when I'm good damn well ready. Like, you could just see him gritting through his teeth like, I love this decision.
It makes me yearn for the days of Hammer Time. It answers the questions we all had about Lewis with a different engineer. And it causes, not great, but at least semi-mild concern about how long this is going to take for him to truly acclimate to Ferrari, who I think performs better in a dry race than a wet. We kind of toss this one out when it comes to season-long evaluation, but at the same time, guys, do you not remember who's in that car now? Like, with all due respect for Carlos Sainz, that's not Carlos Sainz. That's Lewis freaking Hamilton. When he says leave him to it, leave him to it. I know you're doing your job, but damn it, leave the man alone.
Yeah, they didn't necessarily read the room with him at all. And I feel like as the viewer, you did. You're sitting there being like, shut up. Just shut up. Like, he doesn't want you to keep speaking. And then they just didn't stop. Yeah, Ferrari was quite chaotic. And I feel like, because this is my first season going in as a full-fledged Ferrari fan, I'm really getting, like, the full experience race 1 of, like, how miserable it can be. Because we've all seen it from the outside.
Bad on strategy, bad on tire decisions, bad on radio messages. There was one really funny one, though, where Charles Leclerc was asking, hey, check, is there a leak somewhere? And they're like, a leak? He's like, yeah, there's, like, water in my seat. And they just, after a 2-second after a 2-second pause, they're like, it must be the water. Well, Sherlock Holmes, I tell you what. And Charles just responds with, let's add that to the words of wisdom. Ferrari looked a bit of a mess. How concerned should we be?
It's race 1.
There it is. Go ahead, Lewis Hamilton fan. Talk to me.
I'm not worried, and it's the first race of the season, and there were mixed conditions, and there was a bunch of chaos, and I didn't walk away from that feeling like, oh no, like this is so bad. I'm so worried. it's one race. We'll forget that this even happened because there's going to be a bunch of other chaotic races. So they'll be on the other end of that sometime. I think they have two very, very good drivers, and I'm sure they'll upgrade the car throughout the season. They'll sort it out.
I do. There's just a part of me, maybe it's because I'm a cynic, I'm a skeptic, I'm a pessimist. I expect the worst and I hope for the best. From Ferrari, expecting the worst is essentially what you got in that race. And I just hope, part of me has hope, more now than perhaps I have had in a couple of years, that maybe, just maybe, this is just an anomaly, an aberration, and this won't be who they are with Lewis Hamilton this year. But I don't know.
I'm just happy. We saw it with Danny Rick going over to Renault. Sometimes it just doesn't work.
The engine just blew up again.
I'm just happy that in all the chaoticness that happened over this race, and all the opportunities there were for my team, McLaren, to fall victim to that chaos.
Nobody cares about your team. Enjoy the spoils of victory. We'll get to you later.
Pretty sure a lot of people do, Nick. I'm just happy that for once, it wasn't McLaren that crapped the bed during a wet weather race, as they have so often done in the past. I'm not worried about Ferrari either, truth be told. Yeah, it was one chaotic race. Like you said, Katie, there were changing conditions. It was wet, then less wet, then dry, then a little bit more wet again, then a lot more wet again. The variables were just everywhere. Yeah, obviously Ferrari didn't execute, but
everyone had that information except Ferrari. By the way, they had no access to any weather reporting throughout the entire tenure of the race.
They actually believe in rain gods, so yeah.
They left their drivers out a little too long on slick tires. They definitely made some bad decisions strategy-wise. But I feel like when you're looking at a wet weather race and you're looking at rain incoming, it's a guessing game. You are gambling no matter what. Today they lost, they folded. So I'm not really worried about Ferrari. I'm also not worried about. Let's jump to McLaren. Not worried about McLaren. They look like they have. Well, them not look like they have. They do have the fastest car on the grid this year, at least right now. I mean, that's you can't even argue with that. A 1-2 finish. Oscar Piastri was 0.4 ahead of Max Verstappen in qualifying. Lando was about another 10.5 ahead of Oscar, and it looked like this was going to be a McLaren 1-2. You got to remember, though, Max Verstappen is still on the grid.
And quite good.
And quick. Max Verstappen can still do Max Verstappen things. Nick, you're the Red Bull fan here. Talk to me about Max's race.
He almost did, too. Sean, those of you who have listened to the Gridiron Podcast since its inception probably recall Sean making the argument on more than one occasion that, Lando would have won that race if they just had a few more laps. And me shitting on that because it is a shit argument. Having said
that...
however...
There should be some concern that if there were just 4 or 5 more laps, Lando Norris may not have won that race. I'm just going to say it. Now, there's arguments to be made that Max is burning the remainder of his tires to try to close the gap, but it was close at the end. It was interesting. It was interesting.
Part of that was thanks to a safety car. The other part was Lando sustained floor damage during the race.
And here come the excuses.
Says the guy giving himself excuses about, if only there were a few more laps.
I know. I'm just saying.
How does that size 12 shoe feel on the other foot, Nick?
I wear a size 13, first off.
I wear a size 12.
I don't.
I'm
not going to make a shoe size joke. Secondly, Sean, I recall in the past us talking about aero damage with Max and McLaren catching up, and Sean contending that there was no aero damage when there was a hole in Max's floor. The roles are reversed, which, if you need an endorsement for why you should listen to this podcast for this entire F1 season, which, by the way, is going to last deep into football season next year, here it is. I was on the throne of ease. I was the fan of the champion team and the best driver on the grid. And now I'm not. And now Sean is, at least so far.
I know.
And that alone should tell you to come back for more.
And who knows, 23 races from now, Katie could be the fan of the championship-winning team and driver. We don't know. I mean, yes, McLaren
goes, Sean.
Yeah. Yes, McLaren looks like they're the fastest team right now, but who's to say in a couple months' time it's going to be like that? Lando Norris wins this race. It's the first time in 1,029 days someone other than Max Verstappen has been leading the F1 World Drivers' Championship. 1,029 days.
I don't
Holy
like this new world.
Crap.
I don't like this. I don't like this new world.
Nick doesn't know what to do with his hands.
I haven't been here since 2021, and that was a long time ago for me in life. And I don't know how to feel, and I'm grappling with new environments, both physically and metaphorically, emotionally. It's a lot to handle right now. And if I had hair, I'd be losing it. I'd be pulling it out.
We're going to start noticing patches of his beard missing, just from the stress of watching Rebel
nice
alone.
And strong.
Yeah, just from the stress
going
of
a
watching
little gray
Rebel
over
alone.
here.
I got to give Max his flowers, though. I mean, like, he drove a very, very nearly clean race. And yeah, he was right there at the end in a inferior car, but take that, one little oopsies he had where his wheels locked up and he went off track, or not really. He could have gone into the gravel and beached himself, but saved it just in time and just kind of had to drive over a puddle. It gave up position to Oscar Piastri, who was hunting him down anyway. But I gotta just commend McLaren on the decisions they made when they made them all last season. How many episodes, guys, did we talk about McLaren bottled it again? They had every opportunity to do that yesterday, and they didn't.
Yeah. Now, we do have an entire season in front of us, but...
I wasn't setting you up for a response. I was just bragging.
Oh.
He just gave you a never asked.
I'm gonna leave now. See you later.
We can still see your arm.
We can still see your arm, Nick. Still see your arm. They're massive. Maybe stop hitting the gym. Yeah, Flex Cam 101.
Have you guys ever seen a driver, by the way, be out and then not out? Like where it says on the little ticker on the side? Because they called Piastri out, and I was kind of like, give him a bit of time.
Let's talk about that.
And then he finished in the points.
He's one of my heroes of the race. Yeah. Let's do it.
Oscar, both McLarens actually in that little stint went off track. Lando went through the gravel. That's where he had the floor damage. Oscar also went through the gravel, and then momentum just kind of took him back across the track into a patch of grass, wet grass with slick tires on. And honest to God, I'm not kidding you guys, I didn't see it happen live because some kids were being loud. This was like 1:30 in the morning. Some kids were being loud at the pool across the street, I had to go outside and yell at them. And in that exact...
Wait, hold on. This is a sidebar we must dive into.
We absolutely
Sean has become he's got big dad energy suddenly. What? Hey, you little rascals, get out of the pool. Don't you know some of us have work in the morning even though today's Sunday?
No, what was happening is the gym is open all night long at our clubhouse in my community, and people connect their Bluetooth to the gym speakers. But unfortunately, sometimes the gym speakers also connect to the pool speakers. So the entire neighborhood could hear it. And when I got out there, I didn't even have to say anything because someone from across the street was yelling at them already.
Oh, see, so you embellished the story to make it sound like you were a subject when really you were just an accessory.
I was a bystander at that point, basically. Yes, but by the time I got back upstairs, I saw that Oscar was like already in the back. I'm like, oh, he must have pitted. That's weird. Why did they pit him? That doesn't make any sense. That's bad strategy. So I didn't see it until the next morning, what had happened. And it was so cool. Have you guys seen like the videos from the stands?
The crowd was like
of the crowd basically just willing him, like his home crowd just willing him out of the grass, because it really did. And like you said, Katie, the ticker, the graphic said out next to Piastri's name, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's a minute and a half behind. That was inspirational stuff from OP.
I don't know what the rules are like for you, Katie, when it comes to getting your driver's license in Canada, or even you, Sean, in Pennsylvania. But in Ohio, in order to pass, you must take an on-road exam, which I almost failed. And you also have to take a thing called maneuverability, which is when you pull in between 5 cones that are set up like a parking space, and you have to like prove that you can pull in and then back out and like not hit any cones. You hit a cone, you fail automatically. In maneuverability, you must know how to use your side mirrors, your rear view mirror, and pilot the car in reverse. Oscar Piastri absolutely dominated maneuverability by throwing in reverse, which is a reference to many a rap song, and getting through the grass and getting back on track. Just a remarkable display of determination and the ability to pilot a car backward with only his side view mirrors. Incredible stuff.
I feel like I was part of the crowd, like, willing him back into the race. I was, like, standing up in my living room screaming, like, go, you could do it, go, because he was, like, lightly moving and then would kind of move back a little bit, and man, that was an exciting part of the race. And also, Sean, it still does give a little bit of old man yells at cloud. Just, like,
I mean, look, if someone is playing music that loud at 1:30 in the morning and that it's coming through my walls, yeah, I'm going to go tell them, like, and I wasn't going to go yell at them. I was going to, because I've done that before and they didn't realize that it was connected to the pool speakers. I'm just saying that's what happens usually is they connect it to the gym audio and they don't know that their music is playing outside.
I'm just saying Sean Barie that I knew.
Look. Hey,
at Kent State University, would have treated loud music at 1:30 like a beacon of hope.
I'm just saying.
He would have ran to the music and been like, let's party. No, Sean, hey, you kids, keep it down.
Hey, you kids. I was just going to go over and politely say, hey, you guys know your music is connected to the pool. You got to switch that off, you know? That's all you got to do. I was going to be nice about it. It's going to be nice.
We have to give you a bit of our time about it.
That's fine. I'm on the other side of 30. We all are, so I can be a little bit. It's fun being an old man sometimes.
Katie doesn't. She's not a day over 21.
That's right. Something like that.
Yeah.
We won't quickly.
Birthday. Not touching that one. It was fun to see the crowd literally standing up as Oscar's, I mean, literally inching out of that wet grass, and they are like, come on! And they're like willing him back. That was so cool to see. He would go on to finish P9, salvage P9 really, with an insane last lap pass on Lewis Hamilton. I mean, Hamilton squeezed him to the outside of the wall. He took him off the dry line, and Oscar's like, nope, I'm giving my home crowd one more thing to celebrate, and that was really fun to see. His teammate, of course, coming home in first place, Lando Norris. I don't think he could have had a better drive. Well, he did go off once or twice, so he could have had a better drive, but this has to rank up there, one of his best drives in his career.
This was a very poorly directed race, I thought, because there was a lot of stuff that you missed, and then I saw it on social media being like, where was this? But like that, did you guys see the Kimi Antonelli pass or overtake like closer to I think it might have been the last lap. I don't remember if the broadcast showed it at the time.
This is it's one of my biggest pet peeves with F1 directing is on the last lap. I understand why, but on the last lap they are hell bent on showing the race winner, even if the race winner is 30 seconds ahead of the pack and there's a tight battle going on behind
which he wasn't this time because Max Verstappen was within a second. So I mean, at least there was something to watch at the front. It was also, and you bring up a good point, Katie. The radio messages, they were played super delayed to the point where I think at one point Liam Lawson was told to stay out, and then they had to say, no, that's an old message, he's coming in. Like, they weren't getting those radio messages out quickly, because that brings us to our next topic.
There were also way less of them.
Yes.
Race one,
week one, and we already got team rules from McLaren, team orders from McLaren. Now, we dogged them all last year for not imposing team orders soon enough. We get them week one, and everyone's up in arms. Why can't Oscar pass Lando? We were told they would be allowed to race. Apparently, that was also a bit of an old message because they played it right as Oscar got to Lando's rear wing. It was from a little bit before, and they were told, hold position until you get through the back markers. Not just hold position. Hold position until you get through the back markers, because obviously a team doesn't want their two guys racing going 3 wide on a wet track. So they did that, but before that happened, Oscar had a mistake, another mistake, and next thing you know, he's 2 seconds back, not half a second back. So I don't blame McLaren for that. I'm just going to say that. We dogged them all last year for not calling team orders, putting both drivers at risk. They did it this year momentarily, then they were free to race again. But because Oscar's had a misstep here and there, he winds up being behind Lando anyway. So I'm not blaming McLaren for that. Let's see if they actually call team orders when something is on the line.
I'm not concerned about any of this with them until they're head-to-head, not in traffic.
Thank you. Okay. I thought you were going to be
they're the two best cars. They have the two best cars on the track. Like,
yeah.
They're going to battle at some point. Like, they're going to end up with, front row lockout. They're going to battle. And we're going to see who's better into turn one in the future. We are. Like, the battles are ahead.
Yeah.
I'm not getting greedy in a wet race in the first week of the season. Not concerned about it. But I also don't think it really sheds any light about what they may do, because I think that this situation can evolve throughout the season.
Yeah, I agree. I thought you guys were going to kind of jump on me and say McLaren should have let them race.
No.
You're
in traffic. It's wet.
You surprised me.
Why would you do that?
You guys surprised me.
Not me. I was rolling my eyes and I was audibly yelling curse words when that radio message first went through.
There we go.
There it is.
There we go. All right.
But then when I started to realize that a lot of the radio message might be quite delayed, which I feel like that's an FIA thing, which is really frustrating because I know that they wanted to just like take out the radios completely, and you just can't really do that. Like, there's such an important part of the race and of the viewing experience, like of the broadcast, there's such an important part. But yeah, once I realized that they were kind of out of sync, then I got less mad. But ooh, I was not loving that when they first said that. There were some choice words happening in my living room.
In the moment, I thought of you guys. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get my you-know-what busted because of this. Because they promised all week long. Oscar and Lando both said, we are free to race. There's rules, but we're free to race. Like we've been told, we're free to race. The moment they were able to race each other, hold position, I'm like, oh, this is going to cause controversy. Mm-hmm. You now see why. Back markers were coming up. It wasn't the time to race. And then by the time it was the time to race, Oscar was too far behind anyway. So, okay. Glad we got through that. What else we got from this race?
Who else were our heroes of the race? I think Kimi Antonelli definitely ranks up there. What a debut drive. Mm-hmm. He's supposed to be the next young phenom. And also, I thought this was just fortunate timing, but I started to dig further into Drive to Survive last night, and I got through the whole episode of, like, what's Mercedes going to do without Lewis, and, like, Kimi rose to the forefront in the episode, and I was like, oh, hell yeah. Like, yeah, he just had a hell of a first drive. Now I'm seeing the making of it. This is great.
He's other such an heroes. Infant.
He is such
Looks
a
like
child.
He literally just got his driver's license.
Yeah. He's one of those people that really, like, you ever go out to a bar that's like frequented by kids who just turned 21, and you're like, you walk in, you just go, oh God, I'm old. These people look like children. I don't know what age it happened for you, at which you're like, oh wow.
Nick, what bars are you hanging out at, buddy?
I live in Cleveland. You never know. You run into a bar with a bunch of early 20-somethings, and you're like, ah, damn it, I can't be here. I got to go somewhere else where there's an older crowd. But basically, or my little sister's 8 years younger than me and lives a block away from me. So, like, if I go out with her and her friends or whatever, it's like, oh, God, I'm much older than this group. I don't know when that first happened for you as an adult, where you started to look at people that used to be your age and you're like, wow, you look young as hell. But that is Kimi Antonelli to a T.
Our drinking age in BC is 19. So if any youths come in at 19, I'm looking at them being like, what? Where are your parents? Why are you allowed in here? And then it's like, oh, no, I forget how old I am.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. You have to be 19 to drink. Oh, I was born in 2006.
No. I'm unwell. That was my
I feel like that happened
year.
for me. I feel like that happened for me actually probably like 2 years ago in Tampa. I got here and there's a bar strip called Soho, and I went to it's known for, like, bars, nightclubs and all that stuff, and there's a college right by the University of Tampa, and so I went into one of those bars, and in that moment I'm like, I am 30 and there is no one in here older than 25 except for me.
Yep.
I am out.
Yep. Shows up pretty quickly, doesn't it?
It happens.
If I'm the oldest one at the bar, I think I'll usually leave the bar. I don't ever need to be the oldest person anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
Thankfully, it didn't take me long to find a bar close by that was more age appropriate.
Yeah, look at all of us degenerates, bar people.
Can Kimi Antonelli, I mean, depending on where he, like, will he be able to spray the champagne in his first podium? Depending on where you are.
I think so. I think they all do.
They're just going to give him sparkling grape juice.
Yeah.
Some Welch's. A wedding party. Like, my dad got married to my stepmom. I was 6, and they had champagne in the back of this horse and buggy. White horse, white carriage. It was very extra. We got a bottle of sparkling grape juice. So yeah,
that's so cute.
I was gonna say they're gonna put the Ferrari champagne on, like, podiums 1 and 2, and Kimi Antonelli walks up, Welch's sparkling grape juice. Especially if he's in Miami, Austin, or Vegas, yeah, you can't drink.
That's true.
I would be curious to see how they deal with that.
We should,
I haven't thought about that before.
What'd they do with Max? There's your answer.
They just give him rose water or sparkling grape juice. That's how
That's
what they do in the Middle Eastern countries, the dry countries. So yeah, mean, it works. Just got sparkling. Can I please have a bubbly? Can I have a La Croix? I'll just spray the can, thanks. Kimi Antonelli did have a great race though. From back of the pack up to P4. Again, one of those things of he did have a little mess up, kept it out of the wall as he spun, so that's good for him. But he finished the race and got rewarded for it, and finished within 2 seconds of George Russell. Again, a lot of that was thanks to a safety car towards the end, but to finish 2 seconds within your teammate who's been in F1 what now 6-7 years, it's pretty decent. Pretty decent deck.
Agreed. Next subject.
I'm out of subjects. What else you guys got for the race?
I don't know if I have much else. I mean, the fact that Albon finished P5. Williams had a great weekend.
You want me to read off my paper towel?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right.
Vibe notes time?
Yes. We told Katie to come up with her vibes notes, as she always does for the races, and she didn't have any writing utensils. I'm bragging for her at this point. So she wrote on a paper towel. Katie, please give us
Actually, hold on. Before she gets into them, Katie, is your notebook fun? Is it run dry? Like, what's going on here?
Well, I'm house sitting right now, so I wasn't at home when I was watching the race. So I was saying, and I was leaving work at 10 o'clock, and I hate that baby Isaac Hedger had to go into the wall, but it means that I got to drive home in time and then actually watch the beginning of the race, so selfishly it worked out quite well for me timing-wise, but I was there and I was like, shit, I don't have my notebook, and I've tried to do it in my phone once before, and it's just not the same. I love actually physically writing out my vibes notes. For those that are newer listeners, it's exactly what it sounds like. Since I started watching F1 on a race day, I'll start the race and then I will just write down everything that I feel. It's usually pretty uncensored. But it helps me remember things that happened in the race that I otherwise might not have. But yeah, in a moment of panic, because I think it was the second formation lap, I was looking for something to write on, and I found a piece of industrial paper towel that I did not rip very evenly.
Looks like the state of Ohio.
I was about to say, or if you turn it this way, Tennessee.
Oh, okay. So I see there's Dayton, there's Columbus.
Yeah. I wish that I ripped off a bigger piece of paper towel, but I just didn't have time because the race was starting right away. So quite chaotic, but yeah, I can give a read of what my thoughts were during the race.
Here are Katie's paper towel vibe notes.
Okay, first point. 2 Wookiees down. No. And I'm going to be haunted by Hadjar sobbing for 4 to 5 business days. And then Carlos, baby, no! In big exclamation marks. Exclamation. Oh my god.
There it is.
And then I think there's a world where Yuki gets podium, which felt ahead of the curve because he ended up in a podium spot later in the race. And then it says, I feel like I'm writing on a scroll right now. Look at this piece of paper.
If I may go back to Family Guy real quick, Peter writing with a pen and quill. Carlos, baby, no. Dip, 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 dip. It feels like I'm writing on a scroll right now. Dip, 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 dip.
Except I was writing with a pencil that was getting less and less sharp throughout, and then I was like tearing the paper towel as I was writing because I was just writing so furiously because this was such a good race. Next point. Ruth Buscombe-Divey is so smart and so cool. She is. Okay, no more rain expected for 30 minutes. Next point. I should have ripped a bigger piece of paper towel. Followed by Lewis asking for them to leave him to it twice on lap 15 of his Ferrari tenure is very funny. We almost lost another Wookiee. And then a leakage of what? I am howling. That one just killed me so much. This McLaren car is giving 2023 Red Bull. The fonts they're using have big live, laugh, love vibes. Did you guys notice that? In the graphics package?
Like the stuff that you put on your bathroom wall? Like, but first coffee?
So when they show, like, a driver, if they show Charles Leclerc, they have Charles and then Leclerc and then Ferrari all in different fonts. And a lot of people have been talking about this online, but it definitely gives live, laugh, love in, like, the most derogatory way possible. You'll notice it next time. It's very bad.
I don't think there is a kind way to say that anyway.
And then there goes my Fernando podium prediction. And then, oh my God, holy shit, both McLarens off the road. Lewis Hamilton is leading. I'm unwell. One more Wookie out. Two more Wookiees out. Lewis and Yuki on the podium. Stop the count in big capital letters. Wow, this race. I never wanted to end. Holy shit, this race. And then Lando actually hung on. I can't believe it. Alex Albon P4. Oh, we're so back. And then I ran out of space on my Ohio-shaped.
When she got down to Cincinnati, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. She's like, oh, no, Kentucky's on the other side of the river. I must stop.
Yeah, no one wants to go to Kentucky. Kenturby duckin'.
Kenturby. You're right.
Yeah, so these are some of the vibes I was feeling during the race. I was also slightly inebriated, riding on this paper towel, standing and screaming in my living room, and that's how I watch F1 races.
Whether it be at 6 a.m. or midnight. Also, Katie, I feel like you now need to do these vibe notes on a paper towel every single time.
I never want to do that again.
Maybe a different writing surface every time. Like maybe one time you actually do a scroll. Maybe sometimes it's on like one of those like, you know, old 80s style typewriters that they gave to kids where it just flashes across the top, you know. An Etch-a-Sketch maybe one time.
That would be easier than whatever this was. If this was like a sheet of Bounty, it would have been a lot easier, but this is like, I can't stress enough.
Great value brand.
Oh, not even great, just value brand.
Beer garden bathroom brand.
Oh. Actually, that might have been easier. At least there's less texture to those.
Maybe I'll hang this somewhere in my office here. So
just frame it.
Scroll.
We'll get you an Ohio-shaped frame. It'll fit perfectly.
Katie in the scroll of vibes. All right, let's get on to our predictions because F1's headed now to China. China. All right. That was Australia. Again, for the first time in 1,029 days, someone else leads the World Drivers' Championship, and that someone is Lando Norris. Will he still be leading after round 2? Let's go with our predictions.
I'm sorry,
Let's
where is this one again?
Meeny, miny. I believe it's pronounced China.
China.
I believe that's how it's pronounced. Katie, you want to go ahead with your predictions? P1 through 3?
P1, Oscar Piastri.
Okay. Yeah. Gets me fired up. Starts the engine.
Yes. And then P2, Max Verstappen. P3.
Another yeah.
Lewis Hamilton is going to be on the podium eventually, and I'm just going to keep guessing it every week for manifestation purposes until it happens.
Goddamn right. That's what you should do.
Yeah. Do I think it'll be Lando? Yes. But do I hope it's Lewis? Absolutely.
Hell yeah. I like that. Since I'm next in the line, since Sean's hosting. P1, Max Verstappen.
Lando Norris.
I can't really lean in. I'll hit the mic. P2, Lewis Hamilton. P3, Oscar Piastri.
What a podium. What a podium name.
My heart, these little cars that I got it while getting my nephews some toys.
He kept them in the packaging, too.
Well, I don't have my backdrop here yet, so, you know, keep them in there until I put it up there. John.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but China is kind of a slow track. A lot of slow corners, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. McLaren's not very good in the slow corners. I'll go P1, Charles Leclerc.
Love that.
I'll go P2, Oscar Piastri, and then I'll go P3, Lando Norris. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
I feel like also this season, Lando, Oscar, and Max are going to become the new Ham Verbot.
Hell yeah.
Like where Max has a car that should not be competing with the dominant car, yet it somehow still is, a la, you know, what he was doing against the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas back in like 2019, 2020. So I feel like Piastri, well, I guess what would that be? Norverpia. Norverpia.
Sounds like a country that I was unaware existed.
You never heard of Norverpia?
I hail from the great land of Norverpia, and I am here to read off of Katie's vibe scroll. A message from the Queen, the Canadian Queen herself.
Dun, 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 dun.
Where despite having a lot of timber, we cannot produce paper. Well, parchment.
I live right beside
sounds amazing. I want to go there right now.
Oh, Katie, good side hustle.
No, not. I don't. I mean, my town
Your
does.
side hustle is paper mill.
Oh.
Hi, I'm Katie, and my job is paper mill.
My job is beach and paper mill. The funny thing is I've actually worked at that pulp and paper mill before, doing fire and safety watch.
Oh my God! I was gonna say for fun, she likes to vacation in Dutch.
Big fan of Dutch, and I love attending the Canterbury Ducky. Those are some things to know about me.
Katie, where are we going? Dutch.
Man, my brain short circuits on this podcast so much, and you guys have seen it so many times.
It's such a beautiful thing to see.
Start clipping them together.
Imagine living with it. It's insane all up in here.
If we had a real editor, not bald and sitting to the right on the right half of your screen, for those of you watching on YouTube or Twitch, where you can always find us, perhaps we'd make a supercut of all of Katie's brain short-circuiting. But I don't have the time, so you're just going to have to take us for our word.
Might just start penciling it down. Recap at the end of the season.
There's a button I could press that could actually... Look at that. Clip created from Marker. What do you know? Learn the platform.
All right. Hey, there we go. We're going to start clipping them now.
Just don't give me the launch codes.
All right, that'll wrap it up for our F1 talk. Let's switch gears now into the world of the NFL. I concede the floor over to our NFL.com talent writer, Nick Shook, because free agency, not going as strong as it was, but,
thank God.
Still got some moves here and there. We're still waiting to see who the loser is of the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes.
That is one way to put it.
I'm not going to say winner because nobody knows. It's
all
like the
just...
monkey paw thing. Like, you get your wish, but then something horrible happens because you wished for it.
The monkey's fist. The monkey. Let's just get right to it, Sean. Cam Hayward is tired of Aaron Rodgers waiting around to figure out. He is speaking for the people. We are known Aaron Rodgers haters on this show. We are very tired of the man who had a documentary titled Enigma. Could you possibly be any more on the nose, Aaron? And
I almost just did a real spit take. I'm not even going to lie.
And now we're all stuck waiting on the Enigma. The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma. And frankly, everyone's tired of it, Cam Hayward being one of them. Sean, do you think he ends up with the Steelers, or is he just giving you the old runaround for the hell of it?
I don't think he ends up with the Steelers, and at this point I'm fine with it because there was a brief moment, where I was warming up to the idea of Aaron Rodgers wearing black and gold.
Ew.
And man, was that a scary place to be. Yeah. Just mentally and physically.
Sorry I had to go through that.
Look at what I know. Thank you. It was hard. But look at what we're going through now with it. Is he going to come to Pittsburgh or won't he? I don't care at this point because he wants all the attention on himself. He always has. He always will. And the attention is on him still. So I hope he doesn't come to Pittsburgh because it's clearly just a sideshow. He is not the quarterback that he was even a few seasons ago. I think he should more than likely retire. I think Katie, he should retire, but I don't think he's coming to Pittsburgh.
Did you hear that? Did you hear what Sean just graduated to? It's a big moment in Sean's life right now. Sean has officially graduated to the final stage of the Aaron Rodgers experience, which is apathy.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Sean.
Apathy and contempt.
I just don't care anymore. Do what you want. I don't care.
The motto of the apathy stage is, and I believe Katie has uttered this many times, fire me into the sun. The downside for Sean is that the sun, first off, uninhabitable. Secondly, hot as hell. And that seat is going to get really hot under everybody in charge of the Steelers if they don't figure something out at quarterback. So what is are you ready for a season with Mason Rudolph at quarterback?
If I say yes, I don't want to say yes.
Well, Sean's going to spend his fall watching McLaren win a World Drivers' Championship.
I don't want to say yes, but at the same time, I mean, could it be that much worse than Aaron Rodgers walking out there, 43 years old?
41.
Yeah.
Looks like he's 47. That's neither here nor there. All right, well, we'll just leave it at that. Katie, I know you don't even want to chime in on. You hate Aaron Rodgers, and we understand and empathize.
It doesn't sound like something I would have said. Yeah, absolutely. Hit that on the. We can skate right past me.
Look,
we all know how I'm feeling about.
If Omar Khan doesn't get a quarterback in there other than Mason Rudolph, and we have to start the season with Mason Rudolph, that is a catastrophic failure for the Steelers general manager Omar Khan, because what was your plan? Like, clearly all your eggs were in one basket. Again, like I said on the podcast last week, there is a very real possibility, because everyone keeps thinking, oh, Aaron Rodgers is either going to pick the Giants or the Steelers, and then whoever doesn't get Aaron Rodgers is going to pick up Russell Wilson. Well, now it looks like it's the Vikings where Aaron Rodgers wants to go to. Or he's just using the Steelers as leverage for somewhere else. I don't know, and I don't frankly care.
Have the Vikings even said that, though? Or is that just him wanting to go full Brett Favre, including to the Mississippi misallocation of funds?
Nobody in Minnesota wants Aaron Rodgers.
I can tell you that's one-sided, and that is not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm just saying, there's a very real possibility where Aaron Rodgers doesn't go to... he doesn't go to the Steelers or the Giants. He might retire, and there's a very real possibility Pittsburgh doesn't get another quarterback, and they're starting the year with, don't they have, who's their backup? They got Skyler guy from Miami.
Oh God, you don't want that reality.
Yeah, and Mason Rudolph.
Thompson?
Like, what are we doing? Yeah,
Skyler Thompson, who couldn't get the ball into the end zone from the 3-yard line against Seattle.
So if that's your answer, you go out and get DK Metcalf.
Can he play quarterback?
2 Ferraris out wide. And your answer is Mason Rudolph, that's a failure of an offseason. Unless you can draft a quarterback, but honestly, I don't see... They're drafting at 21 in the first round, unless Jackson Dart really is that guy, which I don't think he is.
Tyler Shuck.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, you guys are in the bad place right now.
The bad place. The very bad place.
We can't go to the bad place because we're already there.
Next item on the list.
Pennsylvania, baby. Acrisure Stadium.
Oh, God. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase signed extensions. The Bengals now have $69 million dedicated to 2 receivers. How does that make you feel as a Steelers fan, Sean?
Actually kind of happy, because they cannot afford a defense now at all, or afford an offensive line to protect Joe Burrow. So I think we're just going to kind of get more of the same.
Philly paid 2 receivers and a quarterback. They just won the Super Bowl.
There we go, Katie. Good pull. Discuss.
They had a much better defense, though.
Yeah,
yes, they did.
They drafted really well. They have a good offensive line, kind of the polar opposite of Cincinnati. They also spent money on their offensive line and on their defense. Again, polar opposite of Cincinnati. Cincinnati, I feel like, just did that to say, see, we spend money on people. Yeah, but now your quarterback is still going to be the most sacked quarterback in the league, and you still have the worst defense in the league. That didn't fix anything that was problematic last year.
I would need to see the team on kickoff, because a lot can change between now and then. But, I go back and forth with it, because Joe Burrow is a quarterback that you want to be happy, and you want to invest in him, and investing in him means investing in people that he desperately wants to keep around him. Is it a bit of a mess? Yeah, sure it is. But we don't know who's going to be on the roster come kickoff. Maybe they draft really well, and maybe they do other moves that makes their defense and offensive line less atrocious. But
and now they're
I'm just happy that Joe Burrow's happy.
And now they're talking about signing Trey Hendrickson long term too.
Yeah,
that's too much money in 4 people. Look at what the Cowboys did. That's why the Cowboys are a mess. All their money is in 2 or 3 people.
The difference is the cap is kind of a myth. There are ways around it. You can structure these contracts where you don't have to eat it all at once.
And it is
a lot, and it's going up. It goes up every year. And the Patriots just had $120 million to spend. For the first time, they paid somebody more than $25 million a year. Yes, will it potentially strap them in the future? It could. But I don't think it's as much of a concern as people think. Having said that, you don't fix that defense, even at this point in free agency, to be completely frank.
It's bleak.
The difference makers aren't there. The difference between the Eagles and the Bengals is that the Eagles drafted year by year really well defensively. Mm-hmm. And that's why they formed this defense that was so good that they could just let guys walk.
All from Georgia.
Largely from Georgia when Georgia was at the peak of its powers. So the Bengals have not done that. They have swung and missed on some defensive backs. They let DJ Reader go and paid the price for it this past season. So I understand why you try to keep Trey Hendrickson. You lost Sam Hubbard to retirement. If you got rid of Hendrickson too, you have no edge rushing presence. Miles Murphy was their first-round pick a couple of years ago. He's done nothing. He's an edge rusher on that team. They're going to have to expect something from him this year. So they're not in the same good place. But at the same time, I don't think it's going to be as catastrophic. It is interesting, though. I'm just glad we don't have to talk about Jamar Chase's contract anymore. Because
or T. Higgins.
We spent weeks monitoring if Jamar was in street clothes or practicing during camp last summer, and frankly, that drove me mad. So happy that that's done with, and we can move on to the next and last topic, which we kind of previewed at the beginning. Katie, Seahawks corner, slide back in. Cooper Kupp is now a Seattle Seahawk. How do you feel?
Come on down. I was pleasantly surprised. I was really shocked. I didn't really see that coming. Like, when I got the notification, did you text me this, Sean? Or did I text the group this time? I don't remember how I found out about it. But anyways, yeah, I was pretty shocked about this. And very pleasantly surprised. I still can't fully get a read on this team, but at least they're doing stuff. They're not just completely throwing in the towel. Yeah, that's. I don't have a lot. I love Cooper Kupp. He went to Eastern Washington, which is the closest college team to me. So that's the only place I've ever seen a college game with the big crazy red field.
The red field.
Yeah. You've been to the red field. That's cool.
Yeah. The call is the law, but yeah, I was stoked about it. I love Cooper Kupp, so I was happy because Jake Bobo season.
I was going to say, last week we were asking who is Sam Darnold even going to throw to, and now we have our answer, and that's a heck of a receiver to be thrown to.
It is, but like I still just have a lot of feelings about that team. Like I still don't really love their offensive line. I love their defense. I think that's going to be carrying them for the majority of the season, but Cooper Kupp definitely helps. I would like to see a bit more on that offensive line. And just who knows with Sam Darnold, what we're going to see. Like,
right.
He's so bad under pressure, that as we talked about last week, so I'm going into it as we'll see how she goes.
We'll see how she... Katie, same. Because we're on Aaron Rodgers watch day. Who the hell even knows anymore?
Your situation is much more bleak than mine. So that makes me feel better as a person.
Hello,
so
darkness,
thank you, Sean.
My old friend.
Sean's got McLaren to cheer to the end.
I do.
He's gonna watch Lando win races. He's gonna rub it in my face each week.
Yeah.
And this is why you should watch the Gridiron Pod. Especially because
we all nod to the sound of race cars.
Vroom, 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 vroom.
Okay. This has been episode 66 of the Gridiron Podcast. Thanks so much for sticking with us this long. Again, if you want to reach out to us, you can on social media, on Instagram at Gridiron Pod, and then on email or by email The Gridiron on email. So there's these things called electronic mail. Okay, you can send it to us on the World Wide Web,
on the Google Tube.
I'm on the emails.
Yeah.
Send an email to us at the Gridiron Podcast 3. That's the Gridiron Podcast 3. Damn those other two at gmail.com. For Nick Shook and Katie Caldwell, I am Sean Barie. Thanks so much. We'll be back next week recapping the Chinese Grand Prix.
Find us on the cyberweb wherever you get your podcasts.
Oh, watch on YouTube and Twitch. Follow, like, subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your grandma, tell the lady next door who's a cat lady and you're kind of afraid of because you think cats could get cat scratch fever, but also I want to be nice to the lady next door. At this point, I'm rambling. We'll see you next week.
Good night, Canada.
And I don't have a window to interrupt, so I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Bye-bye.